Hey guys, this is my 1993 Volkswagen Corrado. I wanted to do a video on this car because one, the Corrado is my favorite car that was ever made, and two, a lot of people don't even know these cars existed. The first Corrado was made in 1988. It came with a 4-cylinder supercharged 1.8 liter 8-valve engine. I believe in 91 they introduced the VR6 engine to this car. Mine's a 93, so it has the VR6 engine. I bought this car with just under 100,000 miles on it. It was pretty much bone stock, and that's why I bought it, because they're getting hard to find that they don't have any modifications done to them. I popped the hood here so we can take a look at the engine bay. Like I said, this car was pretty much bone stock when I got it. It did have a Eurosport cold air intake on it, which was a nice upgrade, and some kind of aftermarket exhaust, so it's a little bit louder than stock. And it did have a performance chip. Since I got the car, on the way home, the radiator hose blew, this top one here. So I actually redid pretty much everything in the cooling system. I did the Mishimoto silicone hose kit, replaced all the hoses because all the rest of the hoses were just waiting to fail. I did the aftermarket S&P radiator because finding a stock radiator in good condition for these cars is pretty hard to find. They don't use the same radiator as the Mark III VR6. These are an A2 chassis, which is basically like a Mark II, with some Mark III parts and some Corrado specific parts, because at the time they didn't put the VR6 in a production Mark II, and these were made, like I said, 88 to 95. Yeah, so I did the Mishimoto hose kit, the S&P radiator, which was supposed to fit like a stock radiator. I did have to do some modifications and remove the AC, which I wasn't happy about, but I will say the thing does keep the car cool. My coolant temperature usually doesn't reach much over 160, which is nice. It keeps the oil temp down. This is a pretty big motor for the size of the car, and it just likes to build a lot of heat. It actually gets kind of hot inside the car. You can also see windshield smashed and the hood's all bent up. I had the hood release fail on me while I was driving, and the secondary latch likes to stick. So that was that. The VR6 hoods are raised in the middle. The G60 hoods are recessed in the middle. There was about, I'd say, roughly 20,000 Corrados in the US brought over from Germany, and about a third of those were the VRs with the raised hood. So that hood's pretty hard to find. Right now I think they're going between $500 and $1,000 for either the stock OEM hood or a carbon fiber VIS hood. So that's going to set me back for a while. I did, however, replace the hood latch mechanism. I got a new cable. These cars don't use the same style latch as a Mark III or a Mark II. They actually have something that's specific to the Corrados. But you have these pins on the hood that lock in there, and then to release them, that cable goes through this guy here, and this piece is actually referred to as a cable horn, and those are plastic. On the original ones are plastic, so Phoenix Engineering makes an aluminum upgrade for that. I replaced that. It did have coilovers on the car when I bought them, but they were pretty beat, so I got a pair of the Raceland Primos with the adjustable dampening for a $500 coilover set. I'm really happy with the way they ride. They definitely aren't H&Rs or anything, but for the price I can't complain. Now looking inside the car here, don't mind me going for the inside handle, as the driver's side handle doesn't work on the outside. They did a little bit of an update in 93 to the VR6 SLC cars. They have the cluster with the orange gate, or the orange needles. So they did a little bit of an update there. window switches are down on the door panel as opposed to around this area where they are on the 91, 92, and the G60 cars. Also, the HVAC controls are similar to a Mark III, whereas the 91, 92, and G60 cars had a more similar setup to the Mark IIs with the sliders. Automatic seat belts. Have some MFA controls here so I can look at my oil temp and stuff when I'm driving. Coolant temp, fuel, speedometer, tach. And then down here you have a little voltmeter and an oil pressure gauge. Glove box. That's a mess. Let's see if I can pop this off here. I also did a Mark IV shift box upgrade in this car. So it's not a direct swap, although you can get German parts from a Polo that'll bolt right up, but it is a nice improvement to the stock gearbox. My Corrado comes with the moonroof. You can actually swap a glass sunroof in from a B4 generation Passat. There are some non-sunroof Corrados. Those are more rare than the sunroof versions and more sought after because the sunroof actually collects water and usually causes stuff to rust out. This mirror you're looking at here, they actually use the Corrado mirrors on a couple other cars. One of the Bugatti models came with it, and a Tuscan TVR, I believe, uses the same mirrors as a Corrado. So that's a cool little fact that a lot of people don't know. We'll fire it up here so you can hear what it sounds like. Also, another cool thing that's unique to the Corrado, there's a switch right there under the dash. If you look, let's try and get it in the rear view here. Yes, that is the spoiler. You can move it up and down with the switch, and or when you hit 45 miles per hour, the spoiler automatically comes up and stays up until you get under 15 miles per hour. So that's a pretty cool feature. Probably doesn't do a lot for aerodynamics, but most people don't believe me when I tell them the spoiler goes up and down. They can't believe that's something that's on a 93 Volkswagen. Looking here at the VR6, another thing that I wanted to go over, the Corrados came with a distributor version of the VR6. Possibly 94, 95 cars had the coil pack, but this distributor VR could also be found in a B3 Passat. Not something you see a whole lot of. A lot of guys will do the OBD2 conversion and update it to a coil pack just for easier to find parts. The coil packs are more common, and they're also easier to work with for tuning and stuff if you want to go to a turbocharged application. That's what I hope to do with this car soon. We'll talk about lighting a little bit here. These are the stock factory US headlights for the Corrado. The European Corrados came with what they call the E-code headlights, which are a lot brighter. A lot of the US Corrados were upgraded to those. They are kind of hard to find, at least at this point in any time. They're not being produced new anymore, so they can easily go up to $1,000 a set. I do have a pair with some broken tabs that I want to put on here. I got to get the E-code adapter harnesses. They run off a relay because they draw a lot more power. You can just wire them up to the factory harness, but it's risking electrical problems that you probably don't want to deal with, considering these cars already had a lot of those. They also come equipped with hella fog lights. That lens is not cracked, this one is, and it is nearly impossible to find a set that aren't cracked because they just get so hot over time. The glass ends up cracking. Another little mod that this car has is the rear wiper delete. That's fairly common on these. You won't find too many with the rear wiper still intact. And this also has a mono wiper on the front, so yeah, it's just a single. In the rain, it's actually not too bad. I feared that it was going to suck to drive in the rain with one wiper, but it actually works fairly well. To my best knowledge, all Corrados made were produced in Germany and then shipped out to the other countries that received them. So they have a little bit nicer undercoating and use nicer metal and stuff, so they don't rust nearly as bad as some of the other Volkswagens from these generations, although they're still prone to rusting. You still got to be careful with them. I don't like to drive mine in the winter, and if I do, I make sure I keep it washed. A little bit of a difference between the SLC and the G60 versions. Most people don't see it by eye. It's kind of hard to catch, but the bumpers are about 5 millimeters wider on the SLC. Also, like I talked about, the SLC or the VR6 car has the raised hood in the center, where the G60 has the recessed hood. G60 is a 4-lug car. The VR6 is a 5-lug car. And the little bit of interior things I went over with you that changed between the G60 and the VR, but the early VRs had a more similar interior to the G60 cars. Well, thanks for watching my video, guys. I hope that gave you a little bit of info on the Corrado. I hope it inspires some people to save these cars, as they're getting harder to find. Parts are getting hard to find. It's always a shame to see them in the salvage yard or getting scrapped or just wrecked and not fixed. But if you liked my video, please like and subscribe. Leave me comments for suggestions. I want to try and get some more videos up, maybe on some of my other cars, some of the car shows and stuff. I am getting an actual camera to record this stuff, so I don't have to do it all on my phone. Thanks, guys.